an entrepreneur that wanted to go slow. Never, 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 never. I've never met an entrepreneur or anyone in business development who wanted to take more time to figure out how to do something. I have a sync problem. I'm going to sign out and I'm going to sign back in this. I've never seen an entrepreneur that wanted to go slower. It's never happened. I've never felt that in my entire life when I was a business developer, an entrepreneur, working on a company, figuring out a new company, making the company better. I've never ever wanted to go slower. I can't imagine being in a situation where I would prefer sitting in a bunch of planning meetings or spending more time figuring out how to do something. I've never in my entire life been like that. I've never met anybody who is an entrepreneur who succeeded or failed at it, but has that inclination, or a business developer who is like this. And if you want to go slow, it's because maybe you're going in the wrong direction. So the feeling of not wanting to do it anymore, not wanting to go fast, I've found for me isn't because I don't want to go fast. It's because I'm going in the wrong direction. And somehow I know it. So I don't want to do the thing that I need to do. And my tendency, given the way I'm geared and wired for action, is to push myself further. Push, push as much as I can because I got to get it done and I got to do it. There's a moment where I realized that was stupid and I needed to stop acting like that. And every time I've had a big success, it's because I stopped. It's because I stopped. And that's the idea of this, is how to go faster. Well, the way I've learned to go faster is to speed up by slowing down. And it's a constant process. It's not that I now am just going fast. I'm actually going incredibly slowly, quickly in the right direction. And it's almost the opposite of what I see a lot of people doing. But when I look at anybody who's been really successful, or where I see, oh, you're going to make it, like this is really working, it's because you're going fast slowly. And I know this is a paradox and it's a bit confusing. So the idea is entrepreneurs love sprints. So entrepreneurs, not all of us, but many of us. So nothing's about everybody. But most of the people I've met, and most of the people, and most of the times in my life where I felt the most uncomfortable, is when the motion stops or slows down, where I don't see things happening or I'm not doing a lot of things. So when business and productivity and effort is working, I feel okay. And when it's not, I don't feel okay. And I had to get past that. I've never heard of anyone who succeeded by doing absolutely nothing. And I've never heard about anybody who succeeded by burning themselves out to force the results when success was defined as getting what they wanted in their life, including realizing the entrepreneur vision. So what I noticed is that when I feel good about the effort, making the effort, the struggle, the victory game, trying to win, moving forward, moving faster, run faster. When it feels right, go faster. Keep going. Don't give up. It's never about giving up. Don't slow down. Go faster. But it's got to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, you're going in the wrong direction. I guarantee that this is true. I guarantee this is true. And the way I know when it's happening is stumbles are occurring. And there's a feeling of, I don't know if I want this, or I don't know if I want that, or I really want it bad, and I don't think I'm going to get it, or this direction doesn't feel right anymore, but I got to work harder and I got to keep going. And what I realize now in these moments is there's other pathways that exist, and I missed them. That's what it is. So, what I've learned is that the bridge is in the slowing down to speed up. So when I slow down and I notice more in the marketplace, so I'm doing this not in the laboratory, I'm in the marketplace. I'm in motion, I'm in action, I'm talking to people, I'm watching. I'm on some kind of social media system, I'm in a meeting, I'm in a group, I'm wherever I am, and I'm slowing down to speed up by noticing other pathways as they emerge. And that's the key to it. It's it's a way of going faster by seeing those little cracks in the door that others don't notice in your marketplace because they're not looking. That's the secret weapon. Most entrepreneurs aren't looking very carefully. What they're doing is they're running really fast in the direction they think is right because there's a feeling of, I got to get there faster. I got to do it. I got to do it. Now, the motivation for that fear is what's key. If it's fear, there's a problem. There's a problem. If it's a feeling of expanding potential, then those are the right kinds of, I'm going to stop this whole thing. This isn't making any sense. I'm having trouble communicating this because it's very complex philosophically, and I want to communicate it, but I don't want it to sound like my opinion. And now it's starting to sound like my opinion. So I'm going to change how I'm doing this. So I'm going to start over. So we're 9:08. Yeah, I'm going to start over. So how do I explain this? So how to go faster? So here's the thing about it. So I want to get what I want always, and it's a burning desire. So for me as an entrepreneur, by personality type, I've got to get the thing I want because it's a vision. It's a feeling inside of, I've got to do this, and I'll do whatever it takes. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's not that I don't have fear. It's that I'm not going to let it get in the way. I'm going to go do it. The fear is it's not going to work. I have to have it, whatever that thing is. And that changes a lot. So when I was in my 20s, the fear was I would get stuck in my parents' business, working for my mom, my dad, and my grandma, working with their customers and doing sales. We're selling children's clothing, and I'm there for the summer, and I'm like, I got to get out of this place and get a real job somewhere. Like, how did this happen? um, so the fear was, I'm never going to get out of it. This is horrible. I got to get out of here. Now, how did I speed up by slowing down? I remember the moment so clearly. I'm sitting in the showroom. So this was a manufacturer's repping company in the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, and I'm like, what am I doing to myself? I moved back from Washington D.C. I was working at the front desk of a hotel, and then I was working in this kind of thing called the Overseas Private Investment Corporation as a temp. And I'm just trying to figure out, what do I do with my life? Nobody wants to hire me. And I don't even want any of these jobs anyways, or careers that I thought I wanted. I just want to read books and hang out and meet people and learn things. And like, I don't want to work. And I didn't care about money. I just wanted to do what I wanted. But I felt like I have to have enough money to do what I want. So my dad was like, "Well, can you help me out with my business? It's doing okay." And I'm like, "All right." So I came back to Chicago and spent the summer with them. And so it's like 3 weeks in, and I'm sitting there in the showroom, and these people across the hallway were throwing their garbage in front of our front door. And I started getting pissed. And I'm like, "What is going on?" And my dad said, "Oh, that's Greenberg and Zarlin. They're assholes." I said, "Yeah, I can see that." He said, "Yeah, but they're the biggest company, so they get away with it." And then I got pissed. I said, "Well, how come they're bigger than us?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. They've got lower priced products and they go on the road and they got this whole sales team and they." I said, "Why don't we have a sales team?" And he's like, "Well, we tried that once and it didn't work and Mark didn't work out." And I'm thinking, I'm like, "Oh, Mark didn't work out. Okay, that's why we don't have a sales team. Okay, got it." And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So now I'm slowing down, you see? So I'm noticing I'm unhappy. I don't want to work in this place. I can't figure out how to get out of it because I can't figure out how to get a job or a career or anything. And I hate these people that have what I want, which is their back door is in front of our front door and they're throwing their garbage in front of our front door. I wanted to be there. And they were the celebrities in our little world, and I wanted to be like them. Not like them. I wanted to beat them is what I wanted, and I did. And in 5 years, we switched offices. We had the big office and the team of salespeople, and they moved into our dinky little office so we could throw our garbage in front of their front door. And that's what happened. That's what happened because that had to happen. So I made it happen. I made it happen. And then I no longer had to work in the little dinky office. And I actually no longer had to work that much because I built a whole team of people to do the work. So I could go travel a lot and do fun things and read books and hang out in coffee shops. So that was a phase. I call it the winning phase. So I sped up by slowing down. And then I sprinted, and then I ran into a wall, and I fell down, and I looked around and said, "Well, why didn't that work?" "Well, you hired the wrong person, Larry. You don't know how to hire people." "Oh, well, I got to figure out how to do that." And then I figured out how to do that. And then they started. And then I told them what to do, and they didn't perform. I was like, "Well, now you have to learn how to manage people," which is help them get good at what they do, not expect them to be like you because they can't, because they're not like you. And I figured that out. On and on. Manufacturers call and they want to know what's going on. Well, we're digging through file folders trying to figure it out. Well, that works when it's you, mom, it's grandma, dad, and my mom. But when you got a team of 8, 10 people, it's not doesn't work anymore. And now instead of 5, 10 manufacturers, you got 20. Well, that doesn't work anymore either. And instead of 4 states, you got 15 or 20 states. It doesn't work anymore. So we computerized using databases. Well, I had to set up the database. I'm terrible at stuff like that, but I did it. And then I eventually I'm like, I can't figure this out anymore. And I was like, oh, there's consultant. Oh, you can hire somebody to do this. So we hired a consultant. I didn't know you could hire people to do stuff like that. I just did it because I had to, so I didn't have to work as much. So I was willing to do it. So I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Slow down and speed up. And what's uncomfortable, I notice, for people that don't figure this out is they can't handle the stopping. So when the motion stops or things slow down, that's time to notice. That's not time to go faster doing what you've been doing. If I'd done that, I never would have succeeded with that business. I'd probably, well, I don't know what I'd be doing, but it wouldn't have been good. So I got what I wanted. I got a lifestyle business when I was in my 20s, doing something I didn't want to do at all, working with my family, and I did not want to be there. And I felt like, well, someday I'm going to have to get a real job because this isn't a real job. And I need to go to like a business school. Well, now I could teach a course at Kellogg. But at the time, I'm like, well, that's where all the real business people are at Kellogg. Meanwhile, I'm inventing an infrastructure for a company without having any idea what I'm doing, which is the kind of stuff they teach people to do in corporate. And I'm doing it in motion in the marketplace, doing whatever it takes. So that's a state, that's a phase. I call that the winning phase where life, and some people never leave that phase. You know, if you look at a guy like Larry Ellison, I don't think he'll ever leave that phase. To him, it's just a victory to be won, struggle, effort, and challenge. And he's going to win. And he does every time. To me, that would be a failure. If I'd stayed there, it would be a failure. So having Larry Ellison's life for me would be a failure. So this is confusing, I think, to people. So it's no longer about winning for me. Now there's another phase, but it's about success, of course. But my self-awareness is different. So it's not about winning and becoming the big showroom anymore. And Greenberg and Zarlin moves into the dinky little showroom. It was great. Now I wouldn't want to do that anymore. I don't care. Larry Ellison, I think, still cares about that. I don't. The second phase I call the thriving phase. And there's 3 stages I went through. Again, how to speed up by slowing down. Now you slow down even more in thriving. So thriving is opportunity, enjoyment, and meaning. So these are the people who are talking about, what do I want to do with my life? Who am I? Why am I here? How do I balance life and work and family? How do I have meaning and purpose? This is the thriving phase. It's inner-directed. It becomes more inner-directed. And the sprinting is still important. Sprinting is still important because when you're in the flow of opportunity that's coming from inside, when you're in the feeling of enjoyment, when you're connected into that purpose, you go really fast and you can go for a long time. So this started for me back in 2020. Really not until the fall of 2020 when I turned my business over to who is my business partner now. I made him a 50% equity partner so I wouldn't have to work in my own business anymore. Um, um, and that's when it happened. That happened. So that's called opportunities come from inside. So there's a creative imagination connection now of an inner directed awareness. So that's the thriving phase. So a lot of coaches are in this, or entrepreneurs who crash and burn enough times where they're like, I don't care about getting the result anymore. I just want a better way to do it. That's the thriving phase where it's now, who am I? It's slowing down more to speed up and go faster. So what happened with me was the first year of that was about skill building and learning how the new economy works. So how do offers get constructed? What are the product models? How does social media work? That's when I started my LinkedIn posting group in November of 2020. So there's 235 people in this group, and I had like 235 people sign up in a few weeks so they could get more popular on LinkedIn. And um, and I'm like, after a while, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But the opportunity felt right at the time. So I'm doing that, and then I'm slowing down even more without even knowing it, because I'm looking around and I'm saying, well, if I do a posting pod and I get popular, then I can create an offer and oversubscribe it. So I'm learning about that. So how do you oversubscribe an offer? I'm learning about persuasion marketing. And I thought, okay, I can do that. And I started working on different systems to do that. And I realized that it wasn't that it didn't work for me because it wasn't what I wanted. That's the thing, is I really didn't want to persuade people to follow me. So that model wasn't working. So again, I'm slowing down to speed up. So what did I do? I created an event and I ran it every week, and it was called Sales Sherpa, then Revenue Climber, and then the Solopreneur Inc. Forum. That worked because it connected me into the marketplace. So I could meet other people and say, hey, you want to come to my event, or you want to come speak at my event? I couldn't figure out how to make any money doing it. That comes later, but or could come right away. But for me, I did that for 3 years. And in the first couple of years, it was all an experiment of learning how that works. And it felt good, it felt right, and then it didn't. And then I stopped doing it, or I changed the way I did it. So the sprint works when you feel connected to the thing you're doing in the thriving phase. And when you don't, there needs to be some time. So it feels uncomfortable when the motion stops or slows down for me. Not anymore. Not anymore. It doesn't anymore. I like it now. Now I can go off in the woods, metaphorically. In other words, back in the dojo inside myself and say, what's deeper here? What do I need to go? How do I go deeper inside where myself to get more out in the world in terms of a way that feels more connected for me? Now that's the third phase. So I left that thriving phase in 2023, February, and I moved into what I call the impact phase. And the impact phase is hard to explain. This is where I always stumble, is trying to explain this. So I call the stages fluidity, fulfillment, and connection. And this is a realization of the inner experience being primary. So it's a recognition that the world has no rewards for me that will fill me up. So there's nothing to chase anymore. So some people talk about this in terms of duality. Some people call it self-actualization. Some people call it enlightenment. None of those things capture it to me, because all it really means is my inner experience is all that matters to me. And the world around me adjusts itself based on what my inner experience is. That's all it is. And it doesn't make anyone or me or anybody more enlightened than anybody else, because everybody who knows themselves is there. So the place to get to is knowing yourself. So if you're a winning person like Larry Ellison, he knows himself. That's who he is. That's what he's doing. So he's there. I feel like I'm there because I'm an impact person at the connection phase. And what I care about is connection with myself and in the world, being who I am in the world without fear of or caring if anybody gets it, likes it. I do care, but not because it makes me feel one way or another. I feel the same, whether people like it or don't, but it's like any entrepreneur, I want to succeed with what I'm doing because that's what I'm here to do. It's just my awareness and the motivation shifted starting in February of 2023. But I'm still doing the same stuff. I'm just doing it differently. So I'm going to go back to this topic. So how to go faster is the idea. How to speed up by slowing down. So how to speed up by slowing down. Entrepreneurs love sprints, meaning when we feel connected to something, we go. Go. Don't stop. Go. Most feel uncomfortable when motion stops or slows down. Stop. Pay attention to the uncomfortable feeling and know what it is. Is this feeling resistance that I need to release? Is this feeling meaning I got to go do this hard thing? Or does this feeling mean I'm going in the wrong direction completely? And I'm missing the opportunity. The only way I found to deal with this problem is to pay attention and notice, adjust, and calibrate based on what's going on right in front of me, because the little cracks in the wall are where the big gold is. The big success that we're looking for, that I'm looking for, are in little tiny little cracks in the marketplace. And most people don't see them. The entrepreneurs who really succeed big do, because they're looking. They're looking. Then let's see. Business productivity and effort works for most of us. So most people are in the winning phase. I think David Hawkins, who did the map of consciousness, which I based this entrepreneur experience chart I mentioned on, winning, thriving, and impact, said 85% of the world's population is in what I call winning. In other words, the attention and awareness is firmly on the world. It's about the world. It's what can I get in the world? How can I get the business I want? How can I get the clients I want? How can I get the presence I want? How can I get the thing I want? So success looks like getting from the world something, purpose, meaning from the world, anything from the world is a winning phase. I want to win this thing. I want to, well, not purpose. That's a little different. So yeah, that's wrong. So, all right, now I want to tell this subjective. This is my problem is trying to explain these things from my own experience. Otherwise people think I'm lecturing them. And I don't want to do that because I'm not. For me, the winning phase meant I felt that if I got something, I would feel completion. So if I got the business to work, that was success. And when that happened, if I felt that was success, that's success. And it was. So when I got one of my businesses to work years ago, and all of a sudden I got more money than I need, and I felt like, wow, there's actually some stability here for the first time in like years. I bought a house. And well, I bought a house, rehabbed it, and sold it because I made a big transition. And then I bought another house, and then the one I live in now. And I'm like, oh, I can actually afford to buy this house now. Um, well, the problem for me with the winning phase, and most of the people are here, is the world's changing too fast for it to work. So 85% of the people, and this is a problem, I think. So 85% of the people in the world, according to David Hawkins, see business productivity and effort is what will work. 85%. In a world that's changing at light speed, that's a problem. So I built a world, an entrepreneur experience around that consciousness, that awareness, that it's about winning. The problem is you have to keep winning. So the market changes, Google changes the rules, the social media systems change, everybody floods into your market when you figure it out, and you got to change again. The leap in consciousness to jump from winning into thriving is the solution for me to this issue. It's not winning again, because then you just have to do it again. Now, some people make so much money that they transcend and escape that issue of transformation. Not transformation, but constant change in the marketplace. Some of those people, though, aren't happy with what they've got. They always need more. So that's the same problem, just a different side of it. But the main thing for most of the world is, I'm lecturing again. So let me go back to what I wrote here. So business productivity and effort works for most of us. When that's the case, run faster. For others stumble, okay, now I got it. For others stumble begin to occur. We realize other pathways to speed exist. It's a bridge into what's next for us. The bridge into what's next for me was recognizing winning wouldn't work again because the society keeps changing. So if I figure out how to get what I want and I get it, I'm going to have to keep doing things to get it and keep it and hold on to it, because the business I construct from the winning consciousness of trying to get what I want from the world isn't going to work long term. I'm just going to have to keep working harder, and I'm going to be a hamster on a wheel. And I don't want to be a hamster on a wheel. I want to get what I want. So the bridge to what's next to me was paying attention to myself and realize that my trap was not recognizing that I needed to figure out what I really wanted. What am I here to do? And that's inner directed life. So that's all of a sudden thinking, what are the opportunities here for me Not what'll work, not just what will work, but what is here for me? What am I going to enjoy? What kind of purpose am I going to get? And those are the beginning steps of getting out of the trap of constant cyclical change in the marketplace. So that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to spend another 10 minutes talking. Sorry about the confusing ramble, but it's very difficult to explain these very complicated things in a way that people understand simply. People don't know me, so they're not going to listen that hard. Okay, so now I'm going to finish these last two. So those who hit the brakes go faster. That's because it's possible to permanently lower the parking brake that traps people in themselves. And then freedom from the matrix requires inner discovery, stopping to start, and new views on speed. If you want to and can be a sprinter, keep going. For those who prefer mid or long distance running, this broadcast is for you. That's it. So let's talk about, let's see, those who hit the brakes. Got to figure out how to explain this now. So those who hit the brakes go faster. So we talked about that. That's because it's possible to permanently lower the parking brake that traps people in themselves. This is the key to it. So permanently lowering the parking brake means simply shifting your perspective on life completely over time. And what this feels like for me is that when I'm in a room, when I'm in the world, when I'm online, when I'm in the market, in other words, the marketplace, what I'm thinking about is, how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? Do I feel resonant with what's happening, or do I not feel resonant with what's happening? If I feel resonant with what's happening, meaning this feels right, I like this, I keep going. If I don't feel resonant, I ask myself, why don't I like this? What's going on? What's going on? Where's the friction coming from? Well, it's always coming from me. Always. Not the other person. They're a learning device to help me understand myself. So if I'm in a networking group and I'm like, God, this sucks, I have to ask myself, why? Is it because I can't say what I want to say because I'll be misunderstood? Or I think I'll be misunderstood, but I won't? Is it because if I say what I want to say, I'll be rejected, I think, even though I don't know that? Is it because I shouldn't go to networking groups anymore? What is it? So permanently lowering the parking brake that traps people in themselves comes when I began to shift my awareness onto myself from the environment I was in, looking for clues and signals about how to think, feel, or act from the environment. So I used to go to a networking event and I would think, what will work here? What elevator message will work? Who do I want to connect with? Who's in my target market? Is this event going to help me move my business forward? That was a trap for me and for anybody, because if you want a permanent solution to cyclical change, that's not going to work, because for me, doing that, and what I see with other people, is that you're basically following the herd. So the crowd in the room is in a group consciousness around their belief system about how networking works. So they've bought into the idea that's been brought into the room from the culture. So they're believing in what they've been taught, or what the guru in the room who's running the room is saying, here's how it works. So somebody's saying, here's how it works. And they've got their 5 steps and their 7 steps, and they're explaining to everybody, and everybody's like, oh yeah. How do I do it? How do I do it? Well, you create your elevator message, and then you do that. Like, oh, okay. Am I doing a good job? Is this right? Is this right? Is this right? And then they're practicing it, and they're going to more networking events. I'm just using this as an example. And then meanwhile, something's going on over here that's going to replace networking. You won't even do it anymore. And they're not even paying attention to that because they bought into the belief system of the networking being the answer. Well, who came up with that? Not you. That's the point. So when you're paying attention to yourself and what resonates, then as an entrepreneur, you see the cracks. So you're in the networking event and you're thinking, oh my God, every single person here just said the same thing. It's in the same format. It's like if after a while, I'm like, I can't even hear it anymore. I'm the type of person that does this and this and this for this reason. And I'm like, oh, and then they're congratulating each other on their elevator messages. And I'm kind of like, well, wait a minute. How can this possibly be what's coming for entrepreneurs if everyone's doing it? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's why it doesn't resonate. So that's why I stopped going. And then I wanted to go because I was like, well, how am I going to get clients? Now I'm in this uncertainty, this feeling of what's next. So I have to start paying attention to what's next. That's how you permanently lower the parking brake that traps people in themselves. Because the trap is believing in the society and thinking other people know what's right. I've never seen a successful entrepreneur, a Steve Jobs type, or any of them, anybody who's been really successful who said, well, the way I did it was I noticed what everyone else was doing and I got really good at it. And then I got really successful from being really good at it. I've never heard that story. I've never heard a successful person say that. Now, I think people who are not entrepreneurs speak this way. So that's like called getting a job. So that's like, I'm looking for a place in the matrix and the hierarchy where I fit. Oh, investment banker. Yeah, let me do that one. What do I have to do? I got to do this, 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 and this. Did I do a good job? Yes. Oh, now you get to be an investment banker. Oh, that's awesome. I'm making $1 million a year. So I got a friend where he did it out of college. I'm jealous. So he's got a massive house right on the lake. And top managing partner, one of the top firms. And it's easy for him. I couldn't do stuff like that. I had to invent and create my own life. Entrepreneurs, we have to invent and create our own life. There is no matrix. There's no path. That's the difference. So if you see a bunch of people sitting in a room trying to figure out what's the path, they're not entrepreneurs. They're looking for a job. And it's not going to work if you're self-employed. Now, it can if you're a coach or a service provider that figures out how to do it within a context where you can get business by just being good at what you do and sharing your experience fully and freely and not doing that stuff. But you got to stop doing that stuff or it's not going to happen. Because if you're out trying to sell, if you're a coach and service provider, not an entrepreneur, because you just want a stable little place to do your thing, it's not going to happen if you're out selling or figuring out how to sell yourself, because then no one can know who you are because you've created a lot of friction for them. So lowering the parking brake permanently comes for an entrepreneur when you start paying attention to yourself first, awareness of yourself, but you got to be in the market at the same time. Those things happen together. I got one more minute. So freedom from the matrix requires inner discovery. I think I explained that. So freedom from the matrix requires inner discovery. I discovered for myself not to go to networking events anymore where people are looking for clients. And it was very hard to give up because I know a lot of people in those rooms and I like them and I want to go see them and hang out with them, but I won't go anymore unless I have a reason, and then I'll go, but it's not because I'm looking for clients. And this is just one example. There's lots of examples. So for some people, it could be like, oh, networking's awesome. Well, I've been doing it forever. So I'm not doing this anymore. For other people, it's like, wow, that's perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing. You should know that. You're permanently lowering the parking brake when you realize with inner discovery that, yeah, this feels right. Then go faster. Go to more networking events. That's what I did when I started doing it. I went every day. I went to a networking event every day for years. It worked. Not anymore. Freedom from the matrix requires inner discovery, stopping to start. You got to stop and look around and notice, or you're not going to go fast, really. You'll be busy and maybe very productive going in the wrong direction. And new views on speed. So the view on speed to me is, am I leaping from opportunity to opportunity? Am I leaping from victory to victory to victory? That was the old days. Am I leaping from opportunity to opportunity? That was the 2020 to 2023 period. Now, new views on speed is, am I fully being myself at all moments, in the moment? That's speed now. If you want to and can be a sprinter, keep going. Perfect. So if you're in the win the victory, go faster. For those who prefer mid or long distance running, this. So I'm really speaking, I think, to people who don't want to sprint anymore. I think that's my primary audience here. If you want to win the victory and you want to keep sprinting and just do that, and that works for you, I'm probably not for you.